Good morning, everyone. Today, we're examining how bureaucratic conflict shaped the U.S.'s counter-narcotics efforts in Afghanistan from 2001 to 2009. Afghanistan's entrenched drug trade not only fuels corruption, but also sustains the Taliban's insurgency. While the U.S. aimed to address this issue, bureaucratic fragmentation within its agencies led to disjointed strategies and limited success. Agency culture played a key role in preventing a unified approach, and this will be our focus today. Let's delve into bureaucratic culture. Each agency's culture, its goals, procedures, and norms, creates organizational silos. These silos often lead to conflicts, especially when agency priorities differ. For instance, some agencies prioritize drug eradication, while others emphasize development or counterinsurgency. This lack of coordination created fragmented foreign policy efforts, undermining the overall mission. Afghanistan's drug trade has deep historical roots. During the Soviet invasion and Taliban rule, economic collapse made poppy cultivation a primary livelihood. Interestingly, the Taliban briefly banned opium production in 2001. Achieving a dramatic 99% reduction. However, after the Taliban's fall, opium cultivation surged, fueled by warlords, corrupt officials, and farmers' dependence on poppy for survival. By 2010, Afghanistan produced over 90% of the world's heroin. Post-2001, Afghanistan's reliance on the drug trade created a complex problem for U.S. efforts. While the country's economic dependence on opium was clear, the rise of corruption and involvement of powerful actors, including some within the Afghan government, complicated eradication efforts. Here, we see the divergent strategies of key U.S. agencies. The Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, INL, emphasized eradication, inspired by efforts in Colombia and Mexico. The DEA prioritized interdiction, targeting high-level traffickers and networks. USAID focused on agricultural development but deprioritized counter-narcotics efforts. Meanwhile, the military viewed counter-narcotics as secondary to counterinsurgency, avoiding eradication to maintain local support. This divergence made it difficult to align efforts and achieve a cohesive strategy. Policy fragmentation was exacerbated by a lack of leadership from the White House and Congress. Each agency pursued its own strategies, often at odds with others. Interagency bodies like the Counter-Narcotics Sync Group were established to create cohesion, but ultimately failed to resolve these conflicts. Eradication efforts were highly controversial. They alienated local farmers who depended on poppy cultivation, fueling grievances that the Taliban exploited. Disagreements over eradication's effectiveness further divided agencies, with INL pushing for it and the military opposing it. Interdiction, led by the DEA, faced its own challenges. Without consistent military support, operations to disrupt trafficking networks were often hampered. While interdiction achieved some successes, logistical issues limited its overall impact. USAID's Alternative Livelihoods program aimed to provide economic alternatives for farmers. However, poor implementation, outsourcing, and insecurity hindered its effectiveness. The lack of coordination across agencies further contributed to its shortcomings. What can we learn from these efforts? Bureaucratic culture has a profound impact on foreign policy outcomes. Fragmentation undermines comprehensive strategies, especially in complex environments. Local context and economic realities must guide policy decisions to ensure effectiveness. Moving forward, a whole-of-government approach is essential. Strong leadership is needed to align agency efforts. Counter-narcotics strategies should integrate broader state-building goals, prioritizing sustainable development and local voices. This alignment can help overcome the challenges of bureaucratic conflict. Before we conclude, let me leave you with three critical questions. How does bureaucratic conflict impact the effectiveness of U.S. foreign policy? What role does agency culture play in shaping divergent policy approaches? How can future counter-narcotics strategies integrate local economic realities and security concerns? Thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions and thoughts.